and the first verse, Ezra 6 and 1. So King Darius ordered a search throughout the records in the archives in Babylon. Eventually, a scroll was turned up in the fortress of Ecbatana over in the province of Media with this writing on it. Memorandum: in the first year as king, Cyrus issued an official decree regarding the temple of God in Jerusalem as follows. The temple where sacrifices are offered is to be rebuilt on new foundations. It is to be 90 feet high, 90 feet wide, with 3 courses of large stones topped with 1 course of timber. The cost is to be paid from the royal bank. The gold and silver vessels from the temple of God that Nebuchadnezzar carried to Babylon are to be returned to the temple at Jerusalem, each to its proper place. Place them in the temple of God. Now listen, Tadonai, governor of the land beyond the Euphrates, Shethar-Boznai, associates, and all officials of that land. Stay out of their way. Leave the governor and the leaders of the Jews alone so that they can work on that temple of God as they rebuild it. I hereby give official orders on how you are to help the leaders of the Jews in rebuilding of that temple of God. Number 1, all construction costs are to be paid to these men from the World Bank out of the taxes coming in from the land beyond the Euphrates, and pay them on time without delay. Number 2, whatever is required for their worship, young bulls, rams, and lambs for whole burnt offerings to the God of heaven, and whatever wheat, salt, and wine and anointing oil the priests of Jerusalem request is to be given to them daily without delay, so that they make sacrifices to the God of heaven and pray for the life of the king and his sons. I've issued an official decree that anyone who violates this order is to be impaled on a timber torn out of his own house, and the house itself made a manure pit. And may the God who put his name on that place wipe out any king or people who dares to defy this decree and destroy the temple of God at Jerusalem. I, Darius, have issued an official decree. Carry it out precisely and promptly. Tadonai, governor of the land across the Euphrates, Shethar-Boznai, and the associates did it. They carried out the decree of Darius precisely and promptly. The building completed. So the leaders of the Jews continued to build. The work went well under the preaching of the prophets Haggai and Zechariah, son of Iddo. They completed the rebuilding under orders of the God of Israel and authorization by Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes, king of Persia. The temple was completed on the 3rd day of the month Adar in the 6th year of the reign of King Darius. And then the Israelites celebrated. Priests, Levites, every last exile exuberantly celebrated the dedication of the temple of God. At the dedication of this temple of God, they sacrificed 100 bulls, 200 rams, and 400 lambs. And as an absolution offering for all Israel, 12 he-goats, 1 for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. They placed the priests in their divisions, the Levites in their place of service to God at Jerusalem, all as written out in the book of Moses. On the 14th day of the first month, the exiles celebrated the Passover. All the priests and Levites had purified themselves, all, no exceptions. They were all ritually clean. The Levites slaughtered the Passover lamb for the exile, their brother priests and themselves. Then the Israelites who had returned from exile, along with everyone who had removed themselves from the defilements of the nations to join them and seek God, the God of Israel, ate the Passover. With great joy, they celebrated the feast of unraised bread for the 7 days. God had plunged them into a sea of joy. He had changed the mind of the king of Syria to back them in rebuilding the temple of God, the God of Israel. Ezra chapter 7. Ezra arrives. After all this, Ezra, it was during the reign of Artaxerxes, king of Persia. Ezra was the son of Shariah, son of Azariah, son of Hilkiah, son of Shallum, son of Zadok, son of Hutub, son of Amariah, son of Azariah, son of Mariah, son of Zeriah, son of Uzi, son of Buki, son of Abiushi, son of Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the high priest. Wow, that's long lineage. That's Ezra. He arrived from Babylon, a scholar well practiced in the revelation of Moses that God of Israel had given. Because God's hand was on Ezra, the king gave him everything he asked for. Some of the Israelites, priests, Levites, singers, temple security guards, and temple slaves went with him to Jerusalem. It was in the 7th year of Artaxerxes the king. They arrived at Jerusalem in the 5th month of the 7th year of the king's reign. Ezra had scheduled their departure from Babylon. On the 1st day of the 1st month, they arrived in Jerusalem on the 1st day of the 1st month under the generous guidance of his God. Ezra committed himself to studying the revelation of God, to living it, and to teaching Israel to live its truths and ways. What follows is the letter that King Artaxerxes gave Ezra, priest and scholar, expert in matters involving the truths and ways of God concerning Israel. Artaxerxes, king of kings, to Ezra the priest, a scholar of the teaching of the God of heaven. Peace. I hereby decree that any of the people of Israel living in my kingdom who want to go to Jerusalem, including their priests and Levites, may go with you. You're being sent by the king and the 7 advisors to carry out an investigation of Judah and Jerusalem in relation to the teaching of your God that you are carrying with you. You're also authorized to take the silver and gold that the king and his advisors are giving for the God of Israel, whose residence is in Jerusalem, along with all the silver and gold that has been collected from the generously donated offerings all over Babylon. including that from the people and the priests for the temple of their God in Jerusalem. Use this money carefully to buy bulls, rams, lambs, and the ingredients for grain offerings and drink offerings, and then offer them on the altar of the temple of your God in Jerusalem. You're free to use whatever is left over from the silver and gold for what you and your brothers decide is in keeping with the will of your God. Deliver to the God of Jerusalem the vessels given to you for the services of worship in the temple of your God. Whatever else you need for the temple of your God, you may pay for out of the royal bank. I, Artaxerxes the king, have formally authorized and ordered all the treasurers of the land across the Euphrates to give Ezra the priest, scholar of the teaching of the God of heaven, the full amount of whatever he asked for, up to 100 talents of silver, 650 bushels of wheat, and 607 gallons each of wine and olive oil. There is no limit on the salt. Everything the God of heaven requires for the temple of God must be given without hesitation. Why would the king and his sons risk stirring up his wrath? Also, let it be clear that no one is permitted to impose tribute, tax, or duty on any priest, Levite, singer, temple security guard, temple servant, or any other worker connected with the temple of God. I authorize you, Ezra, exercising the wisdom of God that you have in your hands, to appoint magistrates and judges so that they can administer justice among all the people of the land across the Euphrates who live by the teaching of your God. Anyone who does not know the teaching, you teach them. Anyone who does not obey the teaching of your God and king must be tried and sentenced at once. Death, banishment, a fine, prison, whatever. Ezra, I was ready to go. Blessed be the God of our fathers, who put it in the mind of the king to beautify the temple of God in Jerusalem. Not only that, he caused the king and all his advisors and influential officials actually to like me and back me. My God was on my side, and I was ready to go. And I organized all the leaders of Israel to go with me. Ezra chapter 8. These are the families of the heads of those who signed up to go with me from Babylon in the reign of Artaxerxes the king. From the family of Phinehas, Gershom. From the family of Ithamar, Daniel. From the family of David, Hattush. Family of Shechaniah. Family of Parosh, Zechariah, with him 150 men signed up. Family of Pahath, Moab. Elamanah, son of Zeriah, and 200 men. Family of Zattu, Shechaniah, son of Jeziel, and 300 men. Family of Adam, Ebed, son of Jonathan, and 50 men. Family of Elam, Jeshiah, son of Athaliah, and 70 men. Family of Sheptiah, Zebediah, son of Michael, and 80 men. Family of Joab, Obadiah, son of Jehiel, and 218 men. Family of Benaiah, Shelomith, son of Josphat, and 160 men. Family of Bebai, Zechariah, son of Bebai, and 28 men. Family of Azgad, Johanan, son of Hakatan, and 110 men. Family of Adonikanim, bringing up the rear. Their names were Eliphalet, Jeuel, Shemaiah, and 60 men. Family of Bigvai, Uthai, Utsakor, and 70 men. I gathered them together at the canal that runs to Havah. We camped there 3 days. I looked them over and found that they were all laymen and priests, but no Levites. So I sent for the leaders, Eleazar, Ariel, Shemaiah, Elnathan, Jarub, Elnathan, Nathan, Zechariah, and Meshullam, and for the teachers of Joab and Elnathan. I sent them to Edo, who was the head of the town of Casiphah, and told him what to say to Edo and his relatives who lived there in Casiphah. Send us ministers for the temple of God. Well, the generous hand of our God was on us, and they brought us back a wise man from the family of Malai, son of Levi, the son of Israel. His name was Sherebiah. With sons and brothers, they numbered 18. They also brought Hashabiah and Jeshiah, son of the family of Merari, with brothers and their sons, another 20. And then there were 220 temple servants, descendants of the temple servants that David and the princes had assigned to help the Levites in their work. They were all signed up by name. I proclaimed a fast there beside the Havah Canal, fast to humble ourselves before our God and pray for wise guidance for our journey, all of our people and possessions. I was embarrassed to ask the king for a cavalry bodyguard to protect us from bandits on the road. We had just told the king, our God lovingly looks after all those who seek him, but turns away in disgust from those who leave him. So we fasted and prayed about these concerns, and he listened. Then I picked 12 of the leading priests, Sherebiah and Hashabiah, with 10 of their brothers. I weighed out for them the silver, the gold, the vessels, and the offerings for the temple of our God that the king, his advisors, and all the Israelites had given. 25 tons of silver, 100 vessels of silver valued at 3 3/4 tons of gold, 20 gold bowls weighing 18.5 pounds, 2 vessels of bright color red copper as valuable as gold. I said to them, you are holy to God, and these vessels are holy. The silver and gold are free will offerings to the God of your ancestors. Guard them with your lives until you're able to weigh them out in a secure place in the temple of our God for the priests and the Levites and family heads who are in charge in Jerusalem. The priests and the Levites took charge of all that had been weighed out to them and prepared to deliver it to Jerusalem, to the temple of our God. We left the Havah Canal on the 12th day of the first month to travel to Jerusalem. God was with us all the way and kept us safe from bandits and highwaymen. We arrived in Jerusalem and waited there 3 days. On the 4th day, the silver and the gold and the vessels were weighed out and the temple of our God into the hands of Merath, son of Uriah the priest. Eleazar, son of Phinehas, was there with him, and also the Levites, Josabad, son of Jeshua, and Hodiah, son of Binnui. Everything was counted, weighed, and the totals recorded. When they arrived, the exiles, now returned from captivity, offered whole burnt offerings to the God of Israel. 12 bulls representing all Israel, 96 rams, 77 lambs, 12 he-goats as an ablution offering. All this was sacrificed as whole burnt offering to God. They also delivered the king's orders to the king's provincial administration assigned to the land beyond the Euphrates. They in turn gave their support to the people and to the temple of God. Ezra 9, Ezra prays, look at us, guilty before you. After all this was done, the leaders came to me and said, the people of Israel, the priests and the Levites included, have not kept themselves separate from the neighboring people around here with all their vulgar obscenities. Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Jebusites, Ammonites, Moabites, Egyptians, Amorites. They've given some of their daughters in marriage to them and have taken some of their daughters for marriage to their sons. The holy seed is now all mixed in with these other people, and our leaders have led the way in this betrayal. When I heard all this, I ripped my clothes and my cape. I pulled hair from my head, out of my beard. I slumped to the ground appalled. Many were in fear and trembling because of what God was saying about the betrayal by the exiles. They gathered around me as I sat there in despair, waiting for the evening sacrifice. At the evening sacrifice, I picked myself up from my utter devastation, and in my ripped clothes and cape fell to my knees and stretched out my hands to God, my God, and I prayed, my dear God, I'm totally ashamed. I can't bear to face you, oh my God. Our iniquities are piled up so high that we can't see out. Our guilt touches the skies. We've been stuck in a muck of guilt since the time our ancestors, right up until now. We and our kings and priests, because of our sins, have turned over to the foreign kings, to killing, to captivity, to looting, and to public shame, just as you see us now. Now, for a brief time, God, our God, has allowed us, this battered band, to get a firm foothold in this holy place so that our God may brighten our eyes and lighten our burdens as we serve out his hard sentence. We were slaves, yet even as slaves, our God didn't abandon us. He put us in the good graces of the kings of Persia and given us the heart to build the temple of our God, restore its ruins, and construct a defensive wall in Judah and Jerusalem. And now, our God, after all this, what can we say for ourselves? We've thrown your commands to the wind. The commands you gave us through your servants, the prophets, they told us the land you're taking over is a polluted land, polluted with obscene vulgarities of the people who live there. They filled it with their moral rot from one end to the other. Whatever you do, don't give your daughters in marriage to their sons, nor marry your sons to their daughters. Don't cultivate their good opinion. Don't make over them and get them to like you, or make them so you can make a lot of money and build up a tidy estate to hand down to your children. And now this, on top of all we've already suffered because of our evil ways and accumulated guilt, even though you, dear God, punished us far less than we deserved, and we even went ahead and gave us this present escape. Here we are at it again, breaking your commandments by intermarrying with the people that practice all these obscenities. Are you angry to the point of wiping us out completely without even a few stragglers, with no way out at all? You're the righteous God of Israel. We are right now a small band of escapees. Look at us, openly standing here guilty before you. No one can last long like this. Ezra chapter 10, Ezra takes charge. Ezra wept, prostrate in front of the temple of God, and as he prayed and confessed, a huge number of men, women, and children of Israel gathered around him, and all the people were now weeping as if their hearts would break. Shechaniah, son of Jehiel, the family of Elam, acting as spokesman, said to Ezra, we betrayed our God by marrying foreign wives from the people around here. But all is not lost. There's still hope for Israel. Let's make a covenant right now with our God, agreeing to get rid of all these wives and their children. See, God didn't tell you to do all that. That's just you saying that, being overzealous. Just my master and those who honor God's commandments are saying it's what the revelation says. So let's do it. Now get up, Ezra. Take charge. We're behind you. Don't back down. So Ezra stood up and had the leaders of the priests and the Levites and all Israel solemnly swear to what Shechaniah proposed, and they did it. Then Ezra left the plaza in front of the temple of God and went to the home of Jehohanan, son of Elisha, where he stayed, still fasting from food and drink, continuing his mourning over the betrayal by the exiles. A notice was sent throughout Judah and Jerusalem, ordering all the exiles to meet in Jerusalem. Anyone who failed to show up in 3 days in compliance with the ruling of the leaders and elders would have all his possessions confiscated and be thrown out of the congregation of the returned exiles. All the men of Judah and Benjamin met in Jerusalem within 3 days. It was the 20th day of the 9th month. They all sat down in the plaza in front of the temple of God. Because of the business before them, and aggravated by the buckets of rain coming down on them, they were restless, uneasy, and anxious. Ezra the priest stood up and spoke. You broken trust. You married foreign wives. You piled guilt on Israel. Now make your confession to God, the God of your ancestors, and do what he wants you to do. Separate yourselves from the people of the land and from your foreign wives. The whole congregation responded with a shout. Yes, we'll do it, just the way you said it. They also said, but look, do you see how many people there are out here? And it's the rainy season. You can't expect us to stand out here soaking wet until this is done. Why will it take? Why it will take days? A lot of us are deeply involved in this transgression. Let our leaders act on behalf of the whole congregation. Have everybody who lives in the cities and who has married a foreign wife come at an appointed time, accompanied by the elders and judges of each city. We'll keep at this until the hot anger of our God over this thing is turned away. Only Jonathan, son of Ashiel, and Josiah, son of Tikva, supported by Mishlam and Shabbathai, the Levite, opposed this. So the exiles went ahead with the plan. Ezra the priest picked men who were family heads, each one by name. They sat down together on the first day of the 10th month to pursue the matter. By the first day of the first month, they had finished dealing with every man who had married a foreign wife. Among the families of the priests, the following were found to have married foreign wives: the family of Jeshua, son of Jehozadak, and his brothers, Misiah, Eleazar, Jarib, and Gedaliah. They all promised to divorce their wives and seal it with a handshake. For their guilt, they brought a ram from the flock as a compensation offering. The family of, so y'all are just going to dismiss these wives and kids, not even give them something to take care of them. A worse evil. The family of Immer, Hananiah and Zebediah, just overzealous. The family of Hiram, Masiah, Elijah, Shemaiah, Jehiel, and Uzziah. The family of Pashur, Elina, Masiah, Ishmael, Nathiel, Josabad, and Lasa. From the Levites, Josabad, Shimei, Keliah, that is Kilatai, Pathiah, Judah, and Eleazar. From the singers, Elisha. From the temple security guards, Shalem, Telem, and Uri. And from the other Israelites, the family of Parosh, Ramiah, Izziah, Malchijah, Magiam, Eleazar, Malchijah, and Benaiah. The family of Elam, Mattaniah, Zechariah, Jehiel, Abdi, Jeremoth, and Elijah. The family of Zatu, Alanai, Elisha, Mattaniah, Jeremoth, Zabad, and Aziza. The family of Bebai, Jehohanan, Hananiah, Zabai, and Atlai. The family of Bani, Mashullam, Malach, Adonai, Rashu, Shiel, and Jeremoth. The family of Peoth Moab, Adna, Kelel, Benaiah, Messiah, Mattaniah, Beziel, Benai, and Manasseh. The family of Hiram, Eleazar, Ishijah, Malchijah, Shemaiah, Shimeon, Benjamin, Moloch, and Shemariah. The family of Husham, Mattaniah, Mattata, Zadab, Eliphet, Jeremiah, Manasseh, and Shimei. The family of Bani, Madah, Amram, Uel, Benaiah, Bediah, Kaluth, Vanah, Maramoth, Elisha, Mattaniah, and Jasu. The family of Benu, Shimei, Shalamat, Nathan, Adadah, Machnabashah, Shashai, Sharai, Azarel, Shelemiah, Shemariah, Shalom, Amariah, and Joseph. The family of Nebo, Jael, Mattatiah, Zadab, Zebaniah, Jedai, Joel, and Benaiah. All these had married foreign wives, and some had also had children by them. This is the word of the Lord.